specifically focusing on police brutality. So for those who are able to join us in the first session, it was a really, really engaging session. And the whole aspect, the whole discussion behind police brutality had kicked up with Tamara Chilande, one of our facilitators, taking us through a little bit of discussion under police brutality. And here we are in the second session, but I will introduce my colleague, I'll say my colleague, and our facilitator of the day. Unfortunately, there has been a little bit of changes in terms of the facilitators, but I will let our facilitator right now to kind of explain the whole aspect behind it. So, ladies and gentlemen, to all the young people watching me right now, peer to peer, I want to welcome Mr. George Omwansa. How are you, George?
Yeah, I'm fine, Derek. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Yes.
As you've correctly said, I'm stepping in for Nelson, President, Law Society of Kenya. He's been held up in an engagement since morning, but he's requested me to appear on his behalf in this session. So thank you very much for the invitation.
It's okay. We understand Mr. Happy has a very, very, very tight schedule, and we really appreciate you coming in on behalf of the Law Society of Kenya. So I'll just dive into the discussion. Maybe you can give the audience a brief introduction about you, your bio, so that they know what exactly they're engaging in this kind of session. Yes.
Okay, again, thank you, Derek. So like you've correctly said, my name is George Omwansa Okenyo. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya with 10 years post-admission experience. I serve on various boards, but most importantly is that I am a council member with the Law Society of Kenya.
George, I think you've muted yourself. George?
In terms of today's introduction.
Yeah, maybe you can just repeat the final, what you are just introducing yourself. You had muted yourself a little bit. Yes.
I'm the chairperson of the Practice Ethics and Standards Committee of the Law Society of Kenya, and this is basically the committee in charge of ensuring practice standards are upheld within the profession in this country. And I'm also the chairperson of the Risk and Audit Committee of LSK. So together with what I said, I'm a council member, Law Society of Kenya, elected by the membership, and serving in this current term of 2020 to 2022.
Thank you so much for joining us, George. As you heard from his bio, he's a very well experienced person to join us in this discussion on police brutality in terms of human rights violations. And to everyone who is watching right now, remember, in case you have any question, type it in the live chat, or you can reach out on our Instagram pages, our social media pages, and then also the WhatsApp group that most of you are in. That's also a place where you can also bring in your questions. So, George, I'll just dive into the first question of our discussion. How would you describe the relationship between the Kenyan police and the Kenyan citizen? Is it on a downward spiral, or is there room for improvement?
Now, this is a very interesting question on the relationship between the Kenyan police and the Kenyan citizens. I say it's interesting because we could be on the same page when I ask whether you've heard the joke about police in Kenya, that you'd rather meet thugs at night than meet a group of policemen. So if that's anything to go by, then it will tell you what exactly the relationship between the Kenyan police and the Kenyan citizens is. And possibly the only thing we need to clarify here is how has it been in the recent past. So if you look at reports from National Police Service, you realize that cases of police brutality in Kenya against citizens do not have a very predictable graph. If you are to do the cases on a graphical representation, you'll realize that police brutality against citizens, or rather the relationship between the Kenyan police and the Kenyan citizens, keeps fluctuating. And of course, one of the most probable explanations to that is that depending on the political atmosphere, which is one of the key considerations on how the relationship between the police and the Kenyan citizen is, it will tell you that during charged political seasons, cases of police brutality are always in the rise. Now, when you compare that to instances when or where there is no much political activity, you will then conclude that the police have a cordial relationship, because pretty much as you look at it, there is no activity. There is no what you term as animosity in the air to warrant the police to be charged. So the graph, basically and in a nutshell, is a fluctuating graph, but the scenario, if fully recorded, will show a trend that is on a downward spiral. Police over the years have been able to contain themselves in terms of their relationship with the citizens. So I will say that the graph has been doing well and it's on a downward spiral.
Wow. Just to the next question. What laws governed by our constitution protect citizens from human rights violations and specifically police brutality?
You're asking what laws govern or which laws protect citizens from human rights violations?
Yes. Specifically police brutality.
Okay, now, okay, we have how should an arrest be conducted? What are the rights of a citizen upon arrest? So you'll notice that key among those rights is the right to be produced or the right to be charged within 24 hours, of course, and with a few exceptions, if they were arrested over the weekend. Then, of course, their right to deal with access to an advocate and basically adequate time to prepare their defense. Now, if you look at something like the Criminal Procedure Code, which is among the sets of laws that we have, you realize that it will also go further to lay down the procedure within which a citizen can undergo a criminal trial. If you look at the Police Act also, you'll see the guidelines and specifications on how an accused person or a citizen generally is supposed to be handled by police. What are the rights of a policeman over a citizen? So just in a nutshell, we can mention the Constitution under the Bill of Rights, that's the human rights. We can mention the Criminal Procedure Code, and of course, most pertinently, the Police Act as the three main or the three key pieces of legislation that protect citizens.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing with us the data. I really hope that we all remember the DYLC starter pack. If you have your book and your pen, you can take down most of the information that Mr. Mwansa is sharing with us, because it's really, really important for you to be able to understand where the whole cycle, the whole understanding of police brutality, where it begins from and how you get to interact with it. So moving into the next question, Mr. Mwansa. I was watching news, I think it was last week, and just going through some of my research for this kind of session. And from the IPOA report by June 2020, we had 87 cases of police brutality in less than 3 months. Okay, now through some of the research, it hasn't been fully said if the 87 cases were fully acknowledged to be of police brutality, but through such numbers, as an advocate for the High Court, is it justifiable to say that Kenyans should be afraid of the police?
Of course, Derek, when you look at these statistics, a few things come into mind. Yeah. They say that 87 cases of police brutality have been reported in less than 3 months.
Yeah.
Now, the figure, and comparatively looked at in respect to previous years, of course, is low.
Yeah.
It is not as high. Of course, it is not as high as your question seems to state, but we all know why police brutality cases between March and June, for example, went a bit low. You know, the containment measures by government, the COVID guidelines and regulations that basically paralyzed operations.
Yeah.
Now, with the paralysis of operations within the country, other than the first few weeks of enforcement of the COVID regulations, when we had extensive cases of police brutality, as they were documented, subsequently, the preceding months have been relatively calm. They've not been as outspoken as the months prior to the COVID pandemic were. So if you want to get a clearer analysis of this report, just look at the median or the mean figure of police brutality cases between 2018 and 2019, monthly, the monthly median or the monthly mean. You'll discover that police brutality cases always range between 300 and 600 in any given month. And that's when there's relative calm. When things are out of proportion, and I'll give you a good example of the famous Monday riots, which you experienced some years back. I mean, 87 cases were cases that were being reported on a daily basis.
Wow.
So it will automatically tell you that, and back to what I said when we started off, the fluctuating nature of police brutality cases. If you can report 87 cases a day, and months down the line or 1 year down the line, you are reporting 87 cases in 6 or 7 months, you clearly can tell that we are not a predictable graph upon which you can make a clear assumption that police brutality cases take this particular trend. So I'd like to say that the extent of the police brutality, of course, within the last 3 months could have been low, but the rider is, there's been inaction generally within the country, Eric.
Wow. Just to have a follow-up from what you've just discussed, it's so interesting that the audience already started bringing in questions. Yeah. So just from what you've mentioned, the numbers, the statistics, um, someone is asking right now. Will you say that the reason as to why, for example, the numbers I've given might be lower than the original figures in 2018, 2019? Does the aspect of when you face police brutality, reporting the cases, you report them to the same police. Does that factor play in as a means as to why the citizens don't want to go report the case because they know there's nothing that will be done?
Sorry, Derek, I lost you on that. Just come up again with your analogy.
Okay, so through the statistics and numbers, is it justifiable? Sorry to say that that the citizens of this country are not reporting the police brutality cases that maybe one or two are facing because they feel like nothing will be done. There will be no result after reporting the case. You report and it ends there.
Okay, thank you, Derek. I think your question is clear as to whether the representation as to the reports that are being made will be accurate. Now, several matters come into play here. Key among them is, does the general population understand and appreciate that they have a remedy once they've faced police brutality? That's a key question. That's a key question that the general population needs to know, that they can make a report against any police brutality. So, of course, now the argument will be, if police brutality is predominantly in a specific area, say, for example, in Samburu, and I'm using Samburu just as an example, are these people aware that they can make a report against police brutality? Number two, do they know where exactly the report should be made? Now, what happens to the people who believe that once they've been faced with police brutality, the only other place to make a report is at the chief's camp? Will the chief entertain a report and take action against police? You understand? So this clearly tells you that the numbers presented might not be accurate for so many reasons. Then the knowledge base of the population, are they aware of what to do? Do they know where to make their report to? Now, police discipline also comes in as a key element. Can a police officer who's been reported, assuming now a member of the general public makes a report, for example, wrongfully to the police station, is the police station willing to take over the complaint and forward it to the relevant authorities? For example, the Independent Police Oversight Authority. Is there that willingness to do that? So largely attributable to the element of not reporting is, does the general population know what their rights are and where they can make the report to?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. So to all the viewers, I know the first session actually, Mr. Mwansa, we were talking about being aware of your human rights, how to respond to human rights violations. So for you as an advocate of the High Court, I think I've asked this question so many times, but I'd just like to hear your view. How would you recommend the young people, like the youth who are viewing this session right now, how would you tell them to respond to such human rights violations?
Now, anything to do with violation by the police, one of the key offices, or some of the key offices that you should know, number one is IPOA, that is Inspector, the office of Or rather, let me rephrase it this way. Actually, one of the most common offices that you should know is the office of the ombudsperson or the ombudsman. Of course, now the chair should be a lady, then hence the need to call it the ombudsperson. Then secondly, there is the Independent Police Oversight Authority, IPOA office, where you can make a complaint. Now, the matrix even changes for the benefit of young people, because all these reports nowadays, the moment you just raise it on social media, the respective oversight bodies are ready and willing to take them up. You do not even need to know where IPOA is. You do not need to know even where the office of the ombudsperson is. You just need to know something as basic as a blogger. Now, majority of the cases that have been brought to the limelight, you'll agree with me, they are cases that have been shared on social media.
Very true.
You remember the case of the lady who was being harassed by police, the Changa incidents, I think in Eldoret or Nakuru. If you remember the several police brutality cases that we witnessed during the enforcement of the curfew directives, all these are matters that came to the knowledge of the authorities through social media. So we are also living in a very advantaged time where information or reporting with anyone who has an ability is just a click or a button, a click of a button away. So those are some of the channels we can use to ensure that we do not keep silent on things just because we do not know where the physical offices are.
Wow. Just to run into the next question, can job stress be attributed as a contributing factor to police brutality? When I talk about job stress, I mean job stress from the police, aspects like low salaries, working for long shifts, and constant provocation from citizens.
Now, Derek, of course, you'll agree with me. These are also human beings.
Very true.
I mean,
very true.
over and above men of uniform, over and above being highly regulated and checked against by authorities, over and above the fact that they undergo extensive training. Bottom line is that they are human beings. And a human being, whether a pastor, whether a bishop, whether a thief, whether a doctor, or whoever you want to name, at the end of the day, they also have some basic factory settings. Now, what I'm calling factory settings is attributable also to the environment within which they are. A policeman, even if you are to give them the best salary in the world and they are also provoked, something else other than salary will disturb him. But what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that it will not be an issue that there is job stress, and that's why police are being callous and indisciplined. Policemen undergo extensive training, both physical training and mental training, that should prepare them well in advance. And this is why you've seen instances, say, on social media, like during the Black Lives Matter movement in the United States, you could see policemen not able to aggressively handle big crowds, but they have to change tact. I mean, get closer to the people who are even demonstrating and just listen to them. Sometimes just listen in as much as you do not have any solution to offer them. I'll also give you an example sometime, I think in 2007 during the post-election violence. You remember a policeman who came out strongly discouraging protesters and rioters from burning the country. And if I can remember, the words were that hii inchi ni yetu sisi wote. We need to protect it. So it's got really nothing to do with low salaries or working for long shifts. I can guarantee you, Derek, there is no single person in this country, if not in this world, who is content with how much money they are earning. And I can tell you this out of experience, because we've seen people earning even 1 million shillings. And I don't want to mention members of parliament or politicians, but they want salary increases, saying that they are earning very little money. So this is something that goes deep down beyond just salaries and working conditions and provocation and so on. It's a matter of self-discipline that can only be applied out of your own conscience, Derek.
Okay, just to the final question, and remember to the audience, if you have any question, share it with me right now. We are heading into the last 5 minutes with our session with Mr. Mwansa, which I am really good up. I believe the content, the statistics that are being shared with you are aspects that you guys need to be aware of, so that when you're responding to such a violation, you know where exactly you're supposed to go. You know that job stress for me. Okay, let me just a small clarification, George. Is it okay to say that jobs, the aspect of let's say hypothetically, I sit down with a policeman and then he or she tells me that the stress ni mingi sana. Is it okay to say that that is an expert?
That if they say what, sorry?
They tell you that the job stress is one of the reasons as to why police brutality is happening. That's why I did a certain thing. Can we say that is an expert?
Of course, that's an that people experience job stress. And I'm quite sure where you sit at your desk. I mean, there is occupational anxiety that you are prone to be faced with occasionally. Do you just jump out of your seat and slap the boss just because you are, just because of stress, job stress? You understand? So, I mean, it's an excuse. And we keep saying that the more the responsibility that has been bestowed upon you, or the more the freedom that has been bestowed upon you, the more the responsibility that comes with your job. Now, these are people who walk armed. I mean, in terms of power and force, as against a citizen, of course, they have an upper hand. But that's why they undergo training. That's why you're supposed to be able to know, yes, I'm carrying a gun. Yes, this person has stressed me, but I cannot use it. Yes, I'm carrying a rungu. I cannot use it because I've undergone training. So there's nothing to do with job stress.
Wow, thank you so much. So if there's any policeman who is watching me right now, and anyone, if you know someone, if you hear that, tell them we all have job stress. Everyone experiences the stress of being in a working environment, and it's all about having a correct mindset, having self-discipline. So just for your final word, Mr. Mwansa, to every young person who is listening to you right now, how would you advise them to navigate the whole understanding of police brutality?
Okay, two things that come out. Number one, be very tactful, always, when dealing with a policeman. As you meet a policeman anywhere, be it in traffic or just walking around, always be very tactful on how you also handle them. They could be walking alongside their job stress. and they are looking for a target to emit it on, make sure you are not the victim. But what does that also mean? It means, or rather, it doesn't mean that you have to be spineless and weak before a police officer. You can also stand up to your rights. You can ask a policeman, why are you arresting me? Do you have an arrest warrant? Or what is the reason for this arrest? As one of the issues. Now, the second element is also that report, report, report. Do not keep quiet. Don't be silent. If there is an issue touching on police brutality, my advice to the future generation is that speak up and ensure that any element of police brutality is addressed.
Is Mrs. Sandra Nyanchoka, but unfortunately, or we can say fortunately at the same time, Mrs. Sandra Nyanchoka is still under the aspect of police brutality. And remember, if you still have any question, as much as the session is over with Mr. Mwanza, I believe if any question comes on board, we'll be able to reach you and continue the discussion, or be able to answer the question for our delegates who are with us today. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. There's an assignment I need to wind up on because it has strict deadlines.
No
so
problem.
I might walk out, but I'll follow. I'll keep following.
No problem. Who is what we are okay. You showing up, Mr. Mwansa, is enough for us. And major shout out to everyone who is still with us since morning. I'm trying to log into the session and see who's with us today. Isaac in Vista, I know the whole team is here. We really appreciate you, taking your time and enjoying the session. For every question that I had asked before, I really hope that if you are among the first few people to answer the questions, just know that you will receive the award you're supposed to receive. So thank you so much, Mr. Mwansa. You're free to leave. We really appreciate it. And the sessions keep on going strong. Okay, the sessions keep on going strong. And right after we are done with Sandra Nyanchoka, we will be moving into the final session of the day before the closing plenary. And that session is very, we can say very interesting session, and it's going to be very impactful, which will be hosted by our lovely, my predecessor, Ms. Sandra Wahito. She's an alumni for Isaac in Daystar. She is the previous president of Isaac in Daystar. She's the one who gave me this job, literally. And with a panel of very beautiful facilitators, which is Robert Burale and Mike Mushiri. So don't miss that discussion. For anyone who was there in the virtual summit, we know how Robert Burale drives in the point home. So don't miss out in the discussion. Yes, thank you so much. And
okay, Derek, let me just excuse myself so I can attend to other things. But I want to commend you for whatever you are doing on the issue of police brutality, and to Isaac, job well done. All the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. As we wait for the technical team to sort out technical issues, I want to give a major shout out to Isaac Nkemu for being able to join us in this session, being represented. I want to give out a major shout out to, I think the whole of Isaac in Kenya has kind of given us a representation in the whole session, and for every other person outside Isaac who has been able to join us today. It's really, really recommendable. And just to the first question that, I think it's the second question I asked concerning the quote. I don't know, I think a number of you were able to say answer the question. No, answer the quote, because we received a lot of answers. Some are very interesting, some are very interesting. So the rights of every man are diminished when the rights of one man are threatened. That was a quote done by John F. Kennedy. So if you give us the right answers, John F. Kennedy, just know you'll be receiving a ticket from DYLC. And if you're among the first two, we received so many correct answers, but first come, first serve. And just another quote. This is the next one. This is the last one for today. We can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist. I repeat, we can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist. So if you know who said that quote, if you know who said that statement, reach out to me on WhatsApp, reach out to the social media platforms, Apple Live Chat, and then you know the drill. That's with chats. We have other partners. You don't know what else you'll be able to receive. Um, yeah, we really, really, really appreciate you guys for showing up. I know wengine tumechoka. Some of us are still eating. We really appreciate it. I know kuna wengine from my own team who are eating while attending the session. That is really, really recommendable. And personal shout out to the members of Isaac in Kenya. I keep on receiving a lot of shout outs. We really appreciate you for also showing up for these sessions. We know that you're undergoing a very, very long process in planning for the future of Isaac in Kenya. You just being here really, really takes us back, because we know the commitment, we know the time, we know the requirement of being in that national office. And thank you so much. That goes to our LC coach. LC is local chapter, for those who don't understand. Rispa, Stevens, to Vanessa, to Vivian, who was in the morning session, just logged in also to this session, to X for helping us push our content on social media, for Havila, who's my buddy in terms of the president's board for Isaac in Kenya. Thank you so much for always playing a very, very huge role in supporting us. And for the next content. Thank you so much. Welcome everybody. My name is Derek Chamau. I you have a very, very special guest, DYLC 20. We're privileged to have her with us today, bearing the fact that she's not in the country. So it's a very, very big honor for us. Yeah, I think I will leave it to her to do the introduction. So welcome, Sandra. Welcome, Sandra.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm happy to be here. My name is Sandra, and I'm originally from Kenya. I moved to the US when I was 12 years old, and I currently live in LA. Currently working as, aside from modeling, as a journalist, and I also a social media manager. I am also the founder of Travel City Zen, which is an online travel community for people who either are looking to travel, maybe not right now though because of COVID, but people who are looking to travel or people who love to travel. So I just, it's something I've always enjoyed, and I wanted to be able to share that with others. So that's really what pushed me to start that. Otherwise I'm happy to be here and looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you so much, Sandra. And before we even get into the topic of discussion, you mentioned about Travel Citizen. It literally caught my eye the first time I checked your Instagram page, and it made me feel like you're a very big travel enthusiast. I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Yeah, I love to travel. It's too bad that we can't do that right now, but it's something that I've always enjoyed. I think it started when I was, when I moved to the US at 12, just realizing how different it was from Kenya, and realizing that at a young age that you can go somewhere new and just experience something that is completely different from what you know. So ever since then, I had an itch for travel, and I have traveled quite a bit and would love to do some more travel once things get back to normal.
Speaking about travel, when it's basically, I think that's one of the main reasons why your Instagram page really, really caught my eye, because, ISEC deals with exchange programs. The whole aspect of our organization has been to travel. And for any ISECer who's watching this right now, we can say Sandra is an ISECer by default because she loves traveling. And maybe just one final question before we just kick into the discussion. How was the culture shock? Just moving from Kenya to the States. How was the culture shock? How did you?
The biggest culture shock that I noticed was with the food. I remember biting a cupcake and thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this has so much sugar. But fruits in Kenya, I really miss fruits in Kenya. They're so delicious. The eggs are very flavorful, they're thick. The chicken is very tasty. Food here, there's some places you can go and you'll get this, good food, but you can tell the difference. If you travel, you can tell the difference, with potatoes, with, again, like I said, eggs, fruits. It's very different. So that was one main thing that I really noticed when I came, was the difference in taste of different foods.
So basically they always say home is always best. So we can say Kenyan food is still the best for you, Sandra.
Yes, I love Kenyan food. It's so good.
That's really nice. That's really nice. Okay, so basically now we can just jump into human rights. And the first thing that I'll mention is just that through your Instagram page, I think that's the profile where that I really, really dug deep into. And there's a post that you did, I think you were in a rally. It was a Black Lives Matter rally. And I was actually impressed. I was like, okay, I wish I was in that rally. Because so how was that experience, just being part of that movement and being part of that whole system?
It was amazing, to see so many people from different backgrounds come together and use their voice for good was so touching, and it was peaceful. It just went so well. It was amazing. I was there with a friend and we were just so touched. It felt good to know that we're doing something good, that we're using our voices to speak up and, you know, try to change society for the better. So I really, you know, was touched by that.
Okay, that's actually very nice. So just I think that adds up to the first question, which is how has the Black Lives Matter movement brought attention to police brutality, according to how you're able to interact with that whole process?
Well, in so many ways, you know, when people stand up, use their voices for good, whether it's by demonstrating or on social media, on your social media platforms, which we all have, that in and of itself is a start in the right direction. And I feel like by doing that, by speaking up, by all of us coming together, then changes are slowly being made. I know we still have a long way to go, but the more we do that, the more we get people to speak up for what's right, the more we'll see change in the future.
Yeah, so according to you, how can the extent of police brutality be measured?
Well, if you look at United States public data, you will find that Black people are more likely to die in custody than white people.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's really sad, but that's how things are here. And I'm not sure about other parts of the world, but I know that it's definitely a big issue here in the United States.
Okay, maybe this is kind of a personal question. So for you as Sandra, have you been able to, you know, be in such a scenario, be in such a circumstance there at home in LA where you've been able to, you know, have that confrontation with the cops, or it has been a smooth run for you?
I have not, thankfully, been in a situation like that. So, you know, I'm just glad that I've not had to deal with that. Yeah.
That's really nice. I can imagine the emotional torture that can come up from such an experience, through the videos that have been shared online, through the turmoil that is being seen in different countries, at the States. Because for us, the Black Lives Matter movement, it was very huge to a point where you are, for someone like me who is back at home here in Kenya, you feel that kind of pain for the others, and also for me, making it was my mother is in States with the whole experience happening. So I think I feel you when you say thankfully you have not been able to experience the whole process and the whole police brutality at the States, and we really hope that it stays that way for you and your family. Yeah. So just another question. Through this whole conversation on police brutality, do you believe or do you think that job stress from the police is a cause of police brutality?
Well, I think that being a police officer is stressful. I'm sure police officers go to work every day and they're not sure whether they'll make it back home alive or not.
Very true.
But just like any other job, you need to push through and you need to do your job right, and you should not discriminate. So when there are situations where an unarmed Black man who was not resisting ends up dead, then, you know, that's when you start to question the police officer who was working that day. And those police officers should not be police officers if they don't know how to, you know, like that without the person dying.
Very true. And finally, how does race in the state, like how does race back at home play a role in police brutality? Or is that the main thing when it comes to police brutality?
Well, let me give you an example. If, a young Black man was to walk into a grocery store.
Yes.
And a young white man was to walk into a grocery store at the same time, the store owner or the person working at the store will pay more attention at the young Black man because Black people are viewed as a threat. And that in and of itself is, why I feel like police officers are more likely to kill Black people because they view them as a threat. It's sometimes an unconscious thing where, you could be walking down the street and someone decides to cross the street to the other side because they don't want you to walk past you. Or you are walking by their car and they decide to lock their doors. Or you walk into an elevator and the person walks right out of the elevator because they're afraid. So some of it is an unconscious thing that they don't even realize that they're doing it. And when it comes to police officers, they could just be reacting that way too, without realizing that they're reacting that way, because it's just something that people are, used to doing. So I think that's why they end up killing Black men a lot more than white men, is because they perceive them as a threat. And it's the sad truth.
Very true, very true. Maybe just to every young person who's watching right now, how would you recommend, or how would you recommend them to respond to police brutality as we finish up on the discussion?
I think that young people, we need to speak up. We need to use our social media platforms constructively. We need to speak to our peers and talk about what we can do to change things. We need to go out and vote and just participate in our communities. And I feel like the more we act, the more we come together and work together, the more we will see change.
Wow, to everyone who is listening, that has been Sandra Nyanchoka. And make sure you follow her on her social media pages at Sandra Nyanchoka. I hope I've said it right.
Yes,
Also,
you have.
Wow.
You can. Of course, you said my last name right.
Yeah, it is interesting because when we were discussing as a team that Sandra Nyanchoka has joined us for the discussion, has joined us as one of the facilitators, two of my organizing committee members misspelled the name. Then I'm like, okay, it is Sandra Nyanchoka. This is to everyone listening, to even our international delegates. It's Sandra Nyanchoka. She's an international model and also a journalist. And thank you so much for being with us. And that has been the discussion. That has been the talk behind police. And according to what she's Let's start.
Oh, we start. Okay, amazing. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to you all. I hope you're having a lovely day so far with DYLC. I would like to say DYLC is a conference that is hosted by Isaac Indesta, and I am going to be a moderator today. My name is Sandra Wahito Wangunyo, and I'm glad to be here. So today we're going to be having an amazing conversation. This is the last session for today, and I have amazing people, your favorite people that you've interacted with on different social media platforms. We start with Robert Burale. He is a man who wears many hats. He is a pastor, he is a life coach, he is an image consultant, marketing strategist, and he is a respected figure as one of the finest public speakers. So I'm glad to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We also have, you're most welcome. We also have Mike Mushiri, who I believe will be joining us very soon. He is a talented person. He has shown us that being in school and creating content can work perfectly. He takes a course in biomedical science. He's a student at Daystar University in his final year. He is a digital marketer, a brand model, and is famous for his very many videos on social media of African moms who are sarcastic. And his character is Mama Michael. So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and being here as we finish the last session. So yeah, Burale, how have you been?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm back in full health, and I really thank God for the process of healing. And I'm back into the swing of things, and I'm very, very excited.
Amazing. That's good to hear. We're really, really grateful. And being the fact that you have experienced, you're welcome. Being the fact that you've experienced COVID, not only its effects, but actually having the whole virus in your system, how has the experience been now that you are 6 months into the COVID pandemic?
Well, first and foremost, experiencing the virus itself was a pretty scary moment of my life. But when I look back, I've come out stronger, more aware, more careful, but also having understood the serious effect it has had on business and people who also don't have it, because when I had it, my daughter was affected, my mom was affected, my siblings were affected, my friends were affected, my church family was affected. So it's not just affecting the people who get the virus, but one person getting the virus leads to maybe about another 20 being affected by the effect and the impact of the virus. And I know many people are going towards where business has been affected, church has been affected, schools have been affected. But one thing we have forgotten to really puncture and drive home is it has affected those people who are close to you. You know, they equally go through the sickness even if they don't have it, because they are part of you. And the worry, will he make it? Will he not make it? They also go through the motions. You understand what I'm saying? So I have seen that effect as a family and friends. But also the positive side to it is it has given me a different mental picture. I am now a different man. Small things don't bother me anymore. Mediocre company and hanging around people who don't want to go anywhere. I don't have time for that anymore. I have a new revelation on what friendship is all about. So as much as there were very many negative effects of this virus, I'm the kind of person who likes to look for the blessing in the pain. And the blessing in this pain and that season was that I learned quite a few things that are holding me in good stead going forward in my life.
Amazing. That is good. And we thank God for your health, you being okay, your family being much better now that you're well recovered. You know, and I like how you said that COVID has not only affected people because you have the virus, but also people around you and in different ways. And that's why we come to our topic today of this session, which is sexual abuse and teenage pregnancies, which has come and probably, let's just say it's given more light into what exactly has been happening. So my question would be, do you feel as if during this period of COVID that the pandemic has led to an increase in the number of cases we're hearing about teenage pregnancies?
Yes, I have actually talked to people who are counseling parents and young girls because of teenage pregnancies. And it has, because now there's too much time on their hands. Remember, not all schools are having online classes. So I've seen videos going around where young people are meeting in a house and they're drinking and do crazy things. So it has exposed the new age kind of parenthood, because those kids are meeting in somebody's house, one of their friends, and those friends have parents. So how careless are their parents? If a kid would be confident enough to have about 20 people drinking in their house, they already know the behavior of the parents, that the parents are maybe so laid back, or they're too busy doing, or maybe also drinking as much as the children are drinking, but in other places. And out of that, there are people who are positioning drugs and alcohol for these students. And then when they take this alcohol and drugs, their lines of respect and care are blurred. Then people start having sex. So yes, there is an increase of careless sexual behavior among the young boys and girls, which of course automatically leads to pregnancy, because when people are having sex and they're drunk, number one, they don't take care of themselves with protection. And then these young boys, of course, impregnate these girls, unless they think they're pouring apple juice, which they are not, you know? So they get surprised out of this careless behavior. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So COVID has brought this up. We have become too careless. We are too laid back, busy investing maybe for our children and not investing in our children. There's no point of investing for your children while you're still losing their moral fabric. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. So what you've talked about is definitely about, allow me to say it, uptown kids. So what happens to the increase that's happening now in the rural areas, now that schools have been closed, there's no system whatsoever that's in place. It's lockdown, stay in the house. So what do you think is the increase for those who live in the rural area?
In the rural areas, Sandra, based on my research and the people I've talked to, in the uptown, we have careless sexual behavior. In the rural areas, we are having rape cases increased by relatives. We heard of a case, I think about a month ago, where a father was sexually defiling his daughter. You understand? Because now they are home. So in the rural areas, it's more of rape cases going in. And I would want to urge the security forces, the local government, to be very wary, because what happens is these kids are defiled and raped by this older man. And then because of poverty, the family is given 2 cows and told, keep quiet. We are settling it out of court. And fine, you settle out of court. But what are the effects you have left on this girl? Long-term effects. So that's what's happening in the rural areas. Of course, there are others who are still having sex voluntarily, and that is wrong. But the majority of the cases in the rural areas, Sandra, is based on rape cases, and usually raped by people who are known to them, uncles. I mean, if a father can rape a daughter, I mean, what about the uncle? It's so disgusting, and such a person should not be walking around the streets at all.
That's very, very true. Very true. I agree with you. Now that COVID came, we had the lockdown, we had restricted movement. So it means there's no place for these kids to run to in terms of safety. So it means there's no safe haven for these people. So do you feel, as much as we are under lockdown and trying to control a pandemic, we're still getting cases of sexual abuse and also teenage pregnancies? So what happens to that, especially now that we're in 6 months and the uproar in the communities has been big on it? What solutions do you think?
I think what is happening,
come up with?
We are concentrating a lot on slowing down the virus, and that is good. But as we slow down the virus, we also have to understand, as you're locking people in their homes, there's also risk factor of being defiled. So then the local authorities, local government coming down to the very small village elders need to have ways and put things in place that can monitor. You have people visiting homes where the father is a known drunkard, or maybe is a known immoral person, So we need, where we have caregivers, we need to have counselors go to interview and just have a chat with these girls within the village. And yes, they may not say it that they're being raped, but if you are trained well as a counselor and a psychologist, you may be able to pick the telltale signs of a girl who's being defiled, because not everybody who is being raped will come out and say it, because some have been threatened. In fact, most have been threatened. Most rape victims who come out in the public 20 years after they've been raped, they usually say something. We were threatened that if we did it, we will say it, and if we went to the police, we would have been killed. So we got to get to a place where we are sending professionals, psychologists and counselors, to just go and have conversations that may appear normal, but they're looking for telltale signs. Who is being defiled, who is not being defiled? Because if we leave these things to go on like this, we are raising a bitter generation that these ladies, even later in life, will not be able to relate with their own husbands because of unresolved issues in as far as rape is concerned. And even boys are being sodomized by these people. So, of course, when you ask what they would call a chief, for example, a chief has a way of knowing who is notorious in the village. So if that notorious and non-notorious person has 4 daughters and maybe living with 3 nieces, that's a person who should be kept in check all the time. Otherwise, there are people being defiled behind closed doors and quiet. And then we'll realize later when we start seeing some manifestation of behaviors that are not in line with a normal person. Little did we know they were being defiled and raped many, many years ago.
Definitely. That is very, very true. And I agree with you. And probably on YouTube, people can we can have people reaching out their comments, telling us what you think about this topic, because it's something that's been there. It's something that we're talking about. It's something that has gone quiet ever since probably around June. It's gone down because it had a really big uproar around April, May, June.
Yes.
So the question is, what are you doing? Are you in a situation like that? How do you get help? How do you reach out to someone to help you? And that's why probably we should then have health services or healthcare centers being a responsive plan during this period, not only focus on how to, lower the numbers and to flatten the curve, but also to consider kids. My question, Robert, would also be, do you think then if schools, because schools were that safe haven for children a lot of the times where you'd report in case there are child marriages that are going on, any sexual violence, any need to have sanitary materials, if you need care and protection, a lot of the children would go to the schools. So does that mean that it's safe enough? If people are not safe at home, then do you think schools should be reopened in that case for that aspect of just safety? Because you'll find these girls are not safe. They're insecure every single time because of that father, that male family member, or that even female family member who's sodomizing this boy. So what do you think is the escape for them? Because home is becoming an uninhabitable place for them.
I think the first thing, we need to have people who are in authority who can be trusted, who are victims go when they go to report. The same people who we're supposed to trust, are going to tell these other people that, hey, our case has been brought. So that's why people don't feel safe. You understand what I'm saying? So we need to start from I think I lost. I don't know what happened. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yes, I can. Now I can.
Right, I'm back now. I don't know what happened. Where was I? Let me go back to where I was, whereby the people who have been charged with the responsibility of taking this, securing the safety of these people, also are not trusted. Some are in cahoots with these criminals. So victims don't feel safe that if I go to report, I will be gotten. It will be reported to the person who defiled me before he's arrested. So my life is at risk. So before we think about telling these young girls and young boys come and report, the question is, can we trust you if we come and report to you, or will you be in cahoots with the people who have defiled these young people, and you're giving some little money to protect them? That is where the problem is. Yes. Yes.
That's very, very true.
Yes.
Looking at on the live chat, I can see people checking in and responding. And Catherine Chege says, when someone is sexually, physically, emotionally abused, what next? Where do you start? And I think you've answered that part of reporting, but then the issue becomes when the report comes to you, what do you do? Do you take action and go ahead and make sure that these perpetrators are dealt with, or do you just lay it off like something? Because most of the cases that are reported are just a few.
Yes.
So there are many more that have not been reported because no action. And you see, a child or anyone who's reporting this case will have the notion of, how many times has such an issue been reported and nothing happens? So you choose to keep quiet because at the end of the day, you know nothing is going to be done. Definitely. Shakila Ndambuki on YouTube says, majority of the victims are accused of calling it by either their dressing or habits. So some aren't even believed. So there's that notion of where, and now that you're an image consultant and you deal with these things, how you portray yourself, how you dress has become such a huge target for the ladies, for example. And my choice came up, people being told you're the one who's dressing inappropriately to attract this men to you. You need to dress well. Can we have like a conversation about that and what you think about that?
Honestly, if you ask me, I think it is so wrong for somebody to tell a rape victim that it is because of your dressing you are raped. I would tell such a person off. It is bad enough for a young lady to be raped, and then you, instead of helping them, you are telling them, but this is how you are dressed. It is criminal. Let me tell you something. The mind of a rapist is dangerous. Whether you wear a long dress or a short dress, they will find their way to try and do that which their crazy mind tells them to do. So I would not be among the people who would tell a rape victim, oh, were you dressed in a manner to suggest that you wanted to have some sex? No, a rapist is a rapist. Whether you have the tightest and the longest of skirts or the free-flowing skirt up to your feet, up to your ankles, a rapist is a sick person. So we got to get to understand what is the mind of a rapist. The mind of a rapist is having power over a very innocent person. And that power is not based. I mean, does that mean the only people who have been raped are people with short dresses? No. I mean, I'm big on talking about dressing. Yes, I don't mind. I mean, I talk about dressing, but I'm not going to bring matters image consultancy on in the mind of a rape victim. That's a person who needs all the love and all the care and to be brought back into normalcy. It's bad enough that the person was raped. Now, imagine somebody saying, now please come and speak to them and say, oh, their dressing was bad. I would not even bother doing that because let's help this person get over this very crazy thing. In fact, it is almost impossible. It's just by the grace of God that a rape victim can never forget what the inhumane thing that was done to her, or the inhumane sodomy that was done on a boy. You understand? So a rapist is a rapist, whether you have a short dress or a long dress. We got to get that clear.
They have.
Yes.
Thank you. I hope you guys are listening to these powerful words. A rapist is a rapist. And I will move on again, Burale, to more questions. And thank you so much for all of you who are interacting to this and giving applauses to your responses, which is amazing. We have Casey who's saying, what systems then can be brought in, especially on the rehabilitation side?
Number one,
systems can be brought in, especially on the rehabilitation side?
Is to have a center, not just a safe haven. Keeping them safe is good enough, but the process of restoration where you have counselors. And let me tell you, the surest way to help a victim start the healing process is by assuring them the perpetrators have been taken out of society. Somebody has paid for such a heinous crime. So there's no point of telling them everything, all the good things, that it is well, God will bless you. After 5 years, it will get better. And then when you release them to the public, well, they're walking down in the market, they're seeing the very person who raped them talking to another young girl. you're not helping them. The first
That's
stage
true.
is to make sure
true.
that these people know whoever caused this pain have been put to book, have been brought to book, and they have been dealt with the full arm of the law based on what the penalties of such a heinous crime. You understand what I'm saying? It is
Yes.
bad
Yes.
for a lady
Amazing.
or a boy who has been
Mhm.
raped or sodomized, walking around and then seeing the same person who did this to them laughing all over the place. So keep them safe, get counselors to help them, but also assure them that whoever did this has
Mhm.
paid for the sins that they did.
Amazing. Amazing. Definitely. I definitely agree with
Yeah.
you. That is the first step. The first step is to
Yes.
deal with the perpetrators lawfully. Let the law take its place and dealt with it. Amazing. We move on. It's becoming a very interactive session and I love it. Thank you so much, everybody. So this is from Prince Matoya. He says, what do you think is the appropriate punishment? Which is something that we've probably touched on. And he says, what do you think is the appropriate punishment for rapists around the world? And how do you think awareness on rape should be tackled? I believe the first part of his question is basically the punishment is first to make sure that they deal with the law, you know.
Yes.
But he's also asking, how do you think awareness on rape should be tackled?
Let me tell you, first and foremost, if I was the president of this country, which I will become one day, is to make sure there is a prison, as there's a prison for rapists only. Let them go and help each other there. Let them go and look at each other and see how heinous it is to rape somebody. You understand what I'm saying? I have not been involved in the legal framework. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think a rapist, honestly, if it has been proved beyond reasonable doubt, a rapist must get a certain number of years before they qualify for parole. You understand? Because they need sick person. And the ones who take changa, people in the village, full men who are also rapists. So let their money not be able to buy their freedom. So we should have a stiff penalty where they say, if you have been found guilty of prison of doubt, considered for parole. You cannot be released on a presidential pardon. You got to get there until you get it in your head, the counseling, and don't just leave them because these are sick people. Counsel them, guide them out so that when they come out, they are responsible members of the society.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I agree with you. And definitely to add on to what you said, I think people need to stop worrying about how high the numbers were, because I do remember a few months ago, the teenage pregnancy case was high, especially in Machakos. And everyone was so shocked about the numbers, forgetting that it's not about the numbers, about the perpetrators. It's about who is doing this act and what exactly is happening. Because a lot of the times you find that this one perpetrator that caused this act, it's not one person that they've decided to sexually abuse. It's been several people, meaning that there's no action that's been taken into hand. He's not facing the law as should be. He's being let go, as you said, on 2 cows and a chicken. And that's it. And here, I'll just shout at a few people as we go on. Jaggi Mugo says, Ish, she really loves the topic. Lisa is laughing at the facts. Bilal says nothing but facts. He's saying, Ongeza, say more about it. And Casey says that I think that punishment alone is part of the problem. There's need to be psychologically rehabilitated, psychological rehabilitation incorporated into that punishment. Otherwise, the cycle stays, which is something that you've touched on.
I agree with that person. Yeah, they must be punished. And let me tell you, punishment you must receive. But the fact that you're still alive, we also have to help your mind and your head get back in order. So they have to go hand in hand. But I beg again, let nobody ever look at a rape victim and ask them, do you think it happened because of how you are dressed? It is criminal. In fact, Sandra, if I was around somebody asking a rape victim, don't you think it is your short skirt that made you get raped? I would tie that person asking that question and slash them, give them 49 plus 1 whips. It is criminal to ask that person. They have already been damaged psychologically. Their identity is being robbed away from them. Because a woman who has been raped, you are taking away her dignity, by force. And
that's true.
you go and ask, do you think it's about your dressing? And I'm gonna say this: joint or a long skirt. And a victim of rape or sodomy must be shown love, must be protected, must be rehabilitated, must be counseled by qualified and the best of psychologists who have wisdom for life. And a rapist, on the other hand,
that is true,
face the full force of the law. No bribery. The rape victim will see them walking around the streets like with wanton disorder, driving their big cars.
Guys, I think we've lost Burale, but he'll be joining us again. Thank you so much for being able to ask your questions, give us solutions, give us ways as to how we should be tackling this matter. Burale is back. Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
We will go on. The questions are many. It's a great topic that people have really no answers to because nothing seems to happen. And we have Denise Kipkinei. Sorry. We have Ace. Is it possible that when this abuse happens to the victims, they turn to the other gender for comfort? For example, a woman who was sexually abused seems to find comfort in being with a fellow woman.
Sorry, I think I lost you.
Let me say that again. This is from Ace. That is the name I'm reading here. Is it possible that when this abuse happens to the victims, they turn to the other gender for comfort? For example, a woman who was sexually abused, they find comfort in being with a fellow woman.
No, not at all. No, not at all. No.
Yeah.
Somebody who has been sexually abused, crime has been committed against them. It's not about looking for love from the same gender. Somebody who has been raped needs to be given back his and her dignity, needs to be counseled, needs to be prayed over and for and protected. In fact, you realize some people have been raped and they've not been taken care of. When they get married, they can't even relate with their spouse as well, because if it's a woman who was raped, maybe their husband is trying to make love to them, they feel like, oh my goodness, are you going to rape me? You remind me of the person who defiled me. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I'm not from the school of thought where I would say rape victims are doing the wrong things because of whatever. No. I am from the school of thought that a rape victim has a heinous crime has been committed against them, and they need to be loved, they need to be protected, they need to be counseled, they need to be prayed over. It's as simple as that.
Definitely. We're still going on. People are still commenting and loving the topic. A shout out to Lois Atta Saprong. Shakila Ndambuki says, facts. So much needs to be changed from down the roots. We have Casey Magero who says, it is said that people that engage in abuse in general is a learned behavior, in that they were either abused and became the abuser, or they witnessed a normalized kind of abuse growing up. What do you think about that, Urale?
You see, if you say people who, and I understand where Casey is coming from, there's a lot of wisdom and sense in what Casey is saying, but imagine it would be bad to say, if you have been raped, if you have been abused, then you have the potential to become an abuser as well later in life. Some of the people who have been abused have become the champions of protecting girls and boys. You understand what I'm saying? And remember, as you said, I'm also a pastor. There is a demonic side. There is a spirit to this thing as well. That if I was to start talking about this, it's another long story. For me, I still hold on to the fact that anybody who has been raped is a victim. Let's not say the abusers, not at all. A rapist is a sick person. They may never even have been abused before when they were young. Something that Casey has said is that things were normalized when they were growing up. How are they normalized? When you see somebody who raped 3 girls is still walking, some are even being electives and whatever you call them. So everybody thinks it's okay to rape and walk around because we have seen a rapist who is now powerful and rich. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that's what needs to be done. Anybody who has been found guilty of rape, number one, cannot and should not be allowed to hold any public office, cannot be around where there are students, should be almost like an outcast. And I'm not saying because I'm a pastor, I need to know to talk about the love, but even God, God forgives the sins, but He does not exempt us from the repercussions of the sins. We need to protect the rape victims and the vulnerable people, but also keep away as long as possible these people who are perpetrating this heinous behavior, and keep them so far away until you feel they can be assimilated into society. The day I become president of Kenya, Sandra, hear me, I will get some government land somewhere where there are crocodiles around. There are crocodiles around. Then you build the prison there. So not enough money dropped there by a helicopter so that they can never do other until they get sense into their heads. And once in a while, sending pastors there to go and pray for them.
Amazing. Yes, I definitely agree with you. And then Burale, here people are saying you're coming in with guns blazing. Amazing. So we'll take one more question, then we can wrap up because we're almost done. And this is from Gideon. The internet is acting up. But thank you so much. And then we're going to wrap up. I hope that's okay with you, Burale. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, you're back. Yes. So we'll take one more question and then we can wrap up. So the question is from Gideon. Could then this increased case of sexual abuse and teenage pregnancies be a sign of a deeper rot or underlying issue in our society?
Yes, totally. That's a very, very important question. We need to go back to the basics. We have parents going to nightclubs and having sex like rabbits, and you expect the same parents to inculcate values to their children. You go to Sijui where you are seeing people who have children, they're dancing on the wall, pressing on each other as if they're simulating sex. How then do they have the moral ground to go and teach their children? Imagine grown men and women saying, "Wam lambes, wam nyonyes." What do you expect the children to sing? If grown people are the ones saying "Wam lambes," and then you're dancing as if you are a maniac. So we need, before we blame the children, let's look at the parents first.
Yes.
We need to get ourselves back together. Look at the number of cars that you go for Nyamachoma. Those are people's mothers and people's fathers drinking on bonnets of the cars, of cars. Some are even having sex in the bonnets. And then you're going to tell your children, "Oh, praise the Lord, my son, my daughter. You need to be a good child." Rabbit. No, I'm going to say it as it is. We are good at blaming the children all the time. We are good at blaming the children. Yes. Let us take a look at ourselves. As parents, let us go back and look at ourselves in the mirror. Where have we gone wrong? If you want to believe me, go on Facebook. Look at grown men and grown women, the things they post, the things that excite them, pornographic materials. And then you expect their children to be any better? when you point a finger on your children, remember 3 are pointing back at you.
I'm pointing back at you. There you go.
You're on Facebook. Go on Facebook.
There you go.
These are grown men and women doing some crazy things out there. So our children go on Instagram. Grown men, women posting half-naked photos.
Yes.
Men posting tight place. Their tarakanithi, their strongholds are showing. What are you showing?
Yes. 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 And Burale, here you have fans. Please. 2022 is waiting for you. Burale for president, I see. People saying yes.
In Dambuki.
And,
Yes, I will be president one day. And not the president of our WhatsApp group. I'll be the president of the Republic of Kenya.
There you go. Amen.
Yeah.
We say amen to that. I'll take the very last one from Cynthia because it's an important question. And she says, how do you deal with a situation where a father rapes his own daughter? Then the mother does not believe her or refuses to understand her daughter. Later on, the boyfriend abuses and it turns to gayism. But the most important part I like is where the mother does not believe, because that's a case that's been there, where the other parent does not believe what exactly happened.
I think there's a place of culture and society where women have been made to believe you cannot go against the father, your husband, you know, and culture has made women feel like their place is the kitchen. I'm not a believer of that. If you're a mother and your husband has raped your daughter, it doesn't matter what your husband thinks. You better go and report. Do you know even sometimes it is the mothers who tell the children, keep quiet, don't say it, don't embarrass your father. What nonsense is that? In fact, if a child has been raped and it has been proved beyond reasonable doubt that the father has raped the child, this woman first must leave that house with her children, get that man arrested, put away, and if there's a mother who is trying to hide that place or an accessory to heinous crime, the father raped, the mother covered.
Yes.
So the child must be protected. We're taken away from them because these are both dangerous people. How can a man rape the daughter and his wife is protecting? That is a perpetrator, and another one is aiding that crime, because you cover, tomorrow somebody else will be raped. You cover today, a niece will be raped tomorrow. You cover tomorrow, a nephew will be sodomized 2 days later. I am telling you, if there's a woman who is in knowledge that the daughter is being raped by her father, and because you're the wife of that man and you're covering it up, let me tell you, you should also be charged in a court of law and put away, because your head needs also to be brought back. Let me tell you, there is nothing as bad as a girl being raped, as a girl being raped, as a boy being sodomized. These are people whose dignity is being taken away from them by force. Nobody was brought to this earth by the Almighty God to be raped and to be taken advantage by people. I am telling you, the day will be ruling this country, a rapist, they will have their own prison. I'll be inviting pastors there
with
to
crocodiles.
deliver them from that, from that demon. And then once in a while, you bring siafu and tell them to sit on those siafus. It bites their tush for a while. Because let me tell you, when you rape somebody, you are taking away their dignity. You are killing the future. You are taking away somebody's livelihood. You are making somebody it's like a dead man walking, a dead woman walking. Nobody deserves to be raped. Whether they dressed how or how, a rapist is a rapist. And let me tell you, if anybody ever asked in my presence to a victim, were you raped because of your dressing? I will stand up. I am Luya, but I will speak in all the 42 tribes of this country to tell that person how mumu they are in their head. In fact, hear me, there has to be, even in the court processes, there has to be a way we can protect the identity of the victims, because we are also a society that would laugh at this victim on social media. Do you know Kenyans can easily put the face of a rape victim on social media for her or him to be mocked by people? So we must have mechanism that these people, can testify, but we protect their identity, because they also need a life. We have crazy people in this country. This social media has people who have nothing up here. They can just make fun of a rape victim like nobody's business, and then you start a hashtag raped.
That's
Satan.
Saitan. I agree.
And I'm
I agree
lucky.
with you, Budale. And
I'm very happy.
You have so many
Sorry,
fans.
I'm very happy that I think the LSK president is one of the guests. One of the speakers. At least he's very vocal, and those are the people who need to will help people, because I know he's very, very vocal. You understand? So we need such people to make sure.
Definitely.
In fact, if I was a lawyer, I would not even represent a rape victim, a rape perpetrator.
A rapist.
Yes, I would not. A rapist, I would not represent you. Kana pesa yako.
Akae huko. Now, as we end, and before I invite Derek, I will just go through because you guys have been such
Derek
an amazing
is just burst out laughing. He might fall off his chair.
He's laughing. He's overwhelmed because you guys have been a great audience. I will read out. And people are saying Burale is fired up for DYLC. Sa is hitting this nail right on the head. The transparency of Burale is something we really need as a country. I definitely agree with you, Shakila. Here for this, Siafu for president, because of how Burale has said he'll bring Siafus and crocodiles to eat these perpetrators. Burale for president, Ati crocodiles na Siafu, yes. And so on, guys. This has been amazing. This has been so wonderful. Thank you, Burale, for being so, enthusiastic about this topic, because it needs us to actually take it seriously and look for solutions, not only speak about it, but look for solutions and see where we're headed, even as young people. So thank you so much again for coming on board. I hope we get to do this again. Derek, I hope you're listening to me. Nataka kumoderate tena na Burale, so he can give us more animals to use to capture perpetrators. So thank you very much, guys. I really do appreciate it. Mike would have joined us, but he was unavailable for that. But nonetheless, Burale did a great job. And my time is up, so I will invite Derek to take over. Thank you.
Burale, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Always gracing our presence. And just a spoiler, guys, if you've been following us on social media, you know that Burale is doing 2 amazing sessions. This has been the first one. You join him on Saturday for the next one, and it will be really, really amazing, and you don't want to miss it out. Thank you so much, Robert, for always gracing Isaac in Daystar, gracing DYLC with your presence. And he is one of the facilitators who has played a very, very, very big or very huge role in making sure that this conference is a success. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Remember, lack of vision. Bradley, correct me if I'm wrong. Lack of vision is like a black man staring at a black lady, winking at a black lady and expecting a reaction. Is that true?
Yes. Lack of vision is like a black man in a dark room winking at a black woman and expecting a reaction. It's even worse. It's like building a 100-storied building on a 10-meter foundation. If you want me to go deeper, it's like your right leg on a banana peel and your left leg is on a slippery floor. It's disaster. You will fall.
Very true. Very true. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to say that we've come to the end of DYLC day 1. We've really come to the end of DYLC day 1. And we really, really appreciate everyone for showing up. We really appreciate Sandra for joining us in hosting this session. We appreciate Burale
very much
being patient with us and delivering the keynote for the day in this evening. So remember, every session that has been done today, even this session right now, will be uploaded on YouTube. So anytime, feel free to go back and watch the sessions again. You can invite your friends to watch the sessions again. And tomorrow is another day. Saturday is another day. We have so much in store for you guys. Let the conversation, let the discussion continue in our social media pages, on Twitter, on Instagram, on WhatsApp. I've seen a very, very interesting discussion on our WhatsApp group, and this is what it's all about. Disruptive Young Leaders Conference is being disruptive, being part of the activism, being part of the discussion. So thank you so much, Robert. Thank you so much, Sandra. We really, really appreciate it. And to the audience watching us right now, before I clear up, before we go off, I had promised that someone will be receiving something by the end of the day. And Cynthia Njoroge, thank you so much for choosing or giving us the right answer as the first person, John F. Kennedy. And for that, you'll be able to receive a a ticket from IMAX to go watch a movie in their cinema, and you'll also receive a t-shirt from DYLC as a gift for your participation. And keep on with the conversation, because you don't know what you will receive, you don't know what kind of impact will be here. And yeah, Wahito,
Yes.
you have anything to say to this people, to our
Just allow me just to say, first and foremost, thank you for the opportunity.
Yes.
I think Sandra, you're an amazing host, and I pray that the Lord will open more doors for you as you grow in this gifting that
Amen.
you have. And I'm praying that we will meet you in many other platforms, because I think you have the grace to handle. And Derek, I see you're teaching your people very well. And I'll just pray that the Lord just continues to bless you guys. And I'm close to you people. Anytime you would need me, if time allows, I will be more than happy just to come and pour that which God has put in me to the young people.
Thank you so much,
God bless.
Robert Burale. And I can officially say, if Burale will allow me to say it, he's one of our coaches for Isaac in Daystar. So it's a privilege to be in Isaac in Daystar. So if you remember in my local church, if you remember in Isaac in Kenya, and you want to have that interaction with Burale, maybe there's something you want to share with him, you need some words of wisdom from him, Nione Kando. But for more information, just go to our social media pages. We'll be able to help you out, and we'll be able to connect you to the coach himself. And yeah, this is just amazing.
They can also follow my
social media.
Yeah.
Can also follow my YouTube, Burale the Coach.
Yeah, follow Burale on his YouTube page, and he also has a lot of IG live sessions. You don't want to miss them. I've been attending all of them. And they're really inspiring. You don't want to be left out. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate your time, and I want to officially close down the first session, the first day of DYLC. Tupatane kesho at exactly 10 a.m. for us to start our second day. We have so much in store for you. We have amazing speakers. We have the executive director of Amnesty International coming on board to do the keynote on importance of youth engagement or youth involvement when it comes to human rights awareness. Then following up that discussion is our Isaac Day. So you don't want to miss that. Isaac Day will be hosted by one lovely gentleman by the name of Samuel Bugwa, and the games, the activities will be so much interactive. We have our country partners who will be available all the way from Ghana. We'll have a live audience all the way from Lebanon, all the way from Egypt, all the way from West Africa, all the way from Europe, all the way from Spain. You don't want to miss tomorrow's sessions. So thank you so much, guys, and we really appreciate you coming. Sandra, you want to clear the day?
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. First of all, thanks to Burale. I think he's I may left. Thank you so much, Derek, for your team. As I keep saying and I keep telling you, I am very proud of you guys. I'm blown away, because of the DYLC season 2. We did season 1. Look at us doing season 2. I am so proud of each one of you in the team, the Isaac in Daystar team. I continue to encourage you and keep informing us right now. Whatever you're doing is great. Nobody should tell you less. Thank you again. So yeah, guys, goodbye. Have a lovely Thursday. Thanks, Pedro.
Naona watu wana text on the right ndio wasi left. So thank you so much for doing. Wallahi, that's a dry joke. I blame Sambugo for that. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We really appreciate it.